You're listening to the ESO Network, your station for all things geek.
Hey, music lovers. Welcome back to Modern Musicology. My name is Alan, and say hello to Stephanie Seymour.
Hi, everyone.
And it is just the two of us this week. Our co-hosts are off gallivanting somewhere around the country or something. I don't even know.
The
They're
two
off
youngsters.
on their own. Yeah, I tell you, can't keep track of those boys. So a couple of years ago, we did a show that was all about the solo careers of the four Beatles. And I have been wanting for a long time to do that same kind of show about the members of Fleetwood Mac. But I kept putting it off. I kept saying, well, we'll do that at some point. And then I'd think we could do it. And then we'd schedule a guest or something, or we'd have a special topic that would come up and I would bump that one in order to fit something in. So it's been on my back burner for a while now. And finally, a perfect opportunity has arisen for us to do this show because a very important album from a little over 50 years ago has been reissued for the first time ever. And we're going to talk about that tonight. We're going to talk about the Buckingham Nicks album. And we have a very special guest that's joining us tonight. This is my friend, author Stephen Cooper. How are you?
I'm great. How are you both doing?
Wonderful.
Good.
It is so great to have you with us.
Thank you so much. It's great to be here.
So, Stephen, since you are the guest, why don't you tell us, first of all, how you came to either Fleetwood Mac or Stevie, or however your fandom for this band started?
So I came to Fleetwood Mac before I came to Stevie.
Mm-hmm.
And I checked my memory today, and I called my sister because she's really good at checking my memory. But it was my summer between 8th and 9th grade. Okay, I'm aging myself here, and I don't care anymore.
Who cares?
But so it was between 8th and 9th grade, end of summer. We were driving my sister to move her into her freshman year of college. And so it was the whole family in the car, four of us, mom, dad, my sister, and me. And the radio was on, and we were driving on our way to Amherst, and the song came on the radio, which immediately drew my ear. And my sister was kind of grooving to it. I'm like, what is this? She says, it's called Rhiannon. And, it's off a new album. And I'm like, do you have it? And she said, yes, but it's packed and it's coming with me to college. And I'm like, Mom, you have to get me this album when we go home. And, that was the song that got me started on Fleetwood Mac, because in that song, I heard a voice, the kind of which I'd never heard before.
Mm-hmm.
And I also heard, because I was into rock and roll in those years, and I heard a sort of arrangement of both voices, harmonies, and, instruments that I think was unusual. It was a sound, and I was just I gravitated toward it, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Definitely was such a unique sound with their voices, especially with all of them singing together. That's just so special.
Absolutely. Yes.
Well, Stephanie, how about you?
I was also checking my memory, and the first time I consciously remember knowing about them, other than, listening to the radio, I'm sure I heard, Rhiannon and whatever off the first record on NEW that I listened to all the time. But the first conscious memory I have was the Rumors album, because my mom and my dad, but mostly my mom, just loved Fleetwood Mac and had that album and would play it on our big stereo in the living room. So that's really how I I remember looking at taking the album cover and, reading everything and just thought how cool, I just thought their sound was great also. And I just heard it all the time in the house.
Mm-hmm.
So that's how.
Yeah.
And I didn't get to Stevie until later, I think, knowing her as a solo artist.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mine was about the same time as Steven's. I
Mhm.
really came to like discovering my own pop interests around 74-ish. So I was like very ingrained in the radio, and I was just like perfectly positioned for when Fleetwood Mac comes on the scene and starts having their first big successes in America. So those first singles off of the 1975 Fleetwood Mac album, that like was played all the time on my top 40 station. So I don't remember an exact moment when it was, but I do remember that music was so prevalent in everything that I was hearing at the time.
Yeah.
So it was kind of inescapable. And I always thought it was really, really interesting that there were 3 songwriters and 3 singers. So when you heard a song on the radio and they would say, this is Fleetwood Mac, and you're like, well, that's not the same person that sang that last song when you said it was
Right.
Fleetwood Mac. So there, you never could like pin their identity down. And I thought that was so interesting. But we are here talking about the Buckingham Nicks album, which came out 2 years prior in 1973.
Mm-hmm.
And this is where Lindsay and Stevie start their musical career. They had prior been in a band called Fritz, who had a good bit of like local regional success. They had done some opening gigs for Jefferson Airplane and Janis Joplin and the Holding Company, those kind of bands. So they were really starting to make some headway. And then Stevie and Lindsay record this album, sort of a debut album for them as a duo, and on Polydor Records, and it's called Buckingham Nicks. And it has been out of print for 1,000,000 years. And we all know this album. Like, I had a copy of it. I don't know. I don't even remember where or when I came across it, but I found it probably in a cutout bin in a record store somewhere. It had to be 40, 45 years ago. So I've known this album for almost as long as I've been into Fleetwood Mac. Stephen, when did you discover it?
Okay. If we're talking that I discovered Fleetwood Mac in early high school,
Mm-hmm.
then I don't think I cannot. I tried to check my memory on this, but it's
Yeah.
vague. But I believe it was when I was a freshman in college, second semester, started hanging out with students who were a couple of years ahead of me. And this one guy kind of fought me for Stevie Nicks, like expert fandom, position or rank. And no, but he loved Stevie, he loved her, and he said to me, he goes, "Do you know that there's an album with just her and Lindsay that preceded all the Fleetwood Mac stuff?" And I said, "I absolutely do not know that. And do you have proof?" And he pulled out the Buckingham Nicks record. I'm like, "Where can I get this?" He goes, "I know a place." Because I know a place in Cambridge. We were up in Massachusetts in college, and he said, "I know a place in Cambridge. They have it. I will take you."
Oh
And
my
I was just
gosh.
like, "Oh my God, a whole other dimension to my obsession."
Right. That sounds like some guy who's going to take you to like a dark alley, and here's a
Yeah,
guy
I
with a
know.
trench coat,
I know
I,
he
I've got
I
is.
some
would have gone
sweet.
into a dark alley for this.
Nice.
I would have.
So Stephanie, when did you first hear it?
I'm so embarrassed to say that it's been only very recently that I've listened to it. It's funny though, because the cover of this album, it's so well known, and I've known, the
Mm-hmm.
visuals forever. I can't remember when I didn't know about the album,
Yeah.
but listening to it, no. But the interesting thing is, I knew, like I just said to you before we started recording, I knew Crystal because obviously that was on the first
Hmm.
the
Hmm.
Fleetwood Mac album with that Stevie and Lindsay in it. But honestly, didn't really know it until recently. So
Yeah.
I'm happily knowing it now.
Well,
Great.
it's I mean, that's one of the great things about this thing being reissued. And
Yep.
it's insane that it went out of print. I mean, it didn't sell well or anything,
No, I saw on, when I was
Yeah.
reading about it, it didn't.
But once they become famous, How did nobody ever reissue this album?
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I'm sure it's got like something to do with rights being tied up or something. I don't know, but there's so many
I think had a
opportunities
lot
there.
to do with the business stuff, or
Yeah.
I don't know, but I think that the thing that I always come back to when I think about Buckingham Nicks, it's not really why it was never reissued. It's that if you know the story of how Lindsey Buckingham and Stevie Nicks joined Fleetwood Mac, you will
Hmm.
know that one track on that album changed the course of music history in a way. It
Yeah.
was about the studio itself. It was about equipment
Yes.
in the studio that was being used for the first time
Hmm.
on an album. And it was about Mick Fleetwood stopping by and wanting to hear the equipment. And as a demo, as a sample, one of the producers played a track from Buckingham Nicks.
Yep.
And I really thought about it. I always knew that story, but I thought about it now and sort of like in the context of rock and roll or music history. It was a turning point because it created one of the super bands of the 70s and 80s.
Hmm.
Yes. It is pretty amazing how just, if that didn't happen, what would be? Maybe they would have known it. Maybe they would have become big on their own as a duo, but
Yeah,
you know,
possibly, possibly. But you know, Fleetwood Mac was at a period too where they were not doing that well. They
Right.
had some early success when they were a blues band in England, and Peter Green was in the band, and he was hailed as the coming of God, and you know he was the greatest guitar player ever. And they had some big successes, but then it started to taper off after he left, and we're coming out of a weird period now where they're not even charting in England. They're having a little bit of success in America, but you know, they're like on the bottom side of the top 200 albums on Billboard, you know. So
yeah,
they're not doing that well. And the shocking thing is that they weren't dropped from Warner Brothers. You know, they were in a position where by all rights they should have been dropped, and but they weren't, and they got that opportunity to do that one more album after Mick Fleetwood goes into Sound City Studios and says, hey, demo your equipment for me. And from the way Lindsay tells it, 2 weeks later Bob Welch leaves the band, and Mick Fleetwood is like, well, now I need a new guitar player. Who was that guy that I heard on that record over
yeah.
at Sound City? And he calls up Lindsay.
And if
That's
anyone
crazy.
also knows the story, Lindsay would not go there without Stevie.
No,
So it was a package
Right.
deal, and everyone knows that story
Yeah.
too. So that's how she got in. Although I found it interesting that they gave Christine kind of the power to
That's
say
right.
yes or no to them,
They did.
figuring that it would ultimately mean another girl in the band, another female
right,
singer
Yeah.
in the band.
right.
And she was, you know, I've heard her talk about this. She didn't care about being
Yeah,
the only girl in the group. She didn't care about sharing the spotlight with another woman. And they had a little meeting. They came to a restaurant. They had like a sidewalk seating. They all met up. Stevie got there, and she and Christine, they were like, this is going to test the waters. If they don't, we won't do it. And she and Christine just hit it off immediately and became best friends. And, you know,
yeah,
we're lifelong friends. And that's just, you know, another part of that magical story.
It just seems the whole thing seems very Stevie. Like I can imagine her telling this story about like the randomness of life and that,
yeah,
Yeah.
if this hadn't happened and then that hadn't happened after that thing happened, and it was all sort of like part of this destiny that brought these people together.
yeah,
I just feel like it's such of a time also, the California sound in that era that,
Yeah.
was kind of taking over in a way. And it was sort of in the aftermath of the real sort of Haight Ashbury, but kind of like at the sort of that end of that era, in the beginning of like, the Eagles and
yes.
the
The
creation of the
canyons, like
super.
that whole sound.
Yeah, exactly. Crazy timing, but
Yeah,
incredible.
like an enchanted, magical Stevie Nicks happening.
Yes, exactly.
And, Fleetwood Mac had sort of adopted a little bit more of an American, quote unquote, American sound with Bob Welch. So I think it's a very perfect and easy transition from that into that really sort of breezy California sound that they get when Lindsay and Stevie join. And I just think that they were in a direction, and it was completed by them joining the band. And had somebody else joined the band, the trajectory would have gone completely a different direction, and it might not have worked. Who knows? It might have worked just as well. You never know.
Yeah,
But
I've always said, and I really appreciate the British roots of this band.
mhm,
Okay, and I know the music prior to the Stevie and Lindsay era of Fleetwood Mac.
mhm.
Some really great musicians, but it was kind of a revolving door of problematic people coming in and out of that
Boy,
band.
that's true.
But I've always said that they were destined to be a California band
Yeah.
because of their personalities. John McVie loved to sail.
Yeah,
Mick Fleetwood obviously liked to live a tropical lifestyle or a California, it explains why he ended up in Maui,
yeah,
right? And Christine is kind of like this bohemian funky chick.
Yeah.
And I just felt like, well, yeah, they found their place in California.
yes.
Yeah.
Wow, that's
They
a
found their
great
place.
observation. I hadn't
That's
thought about that before.
Yeah. Because I do think of, I mean, well, I guess it's because I really got into them, Fleetwood Mac. I mean, when they were in this incarnation, but I
Yeah,
don't think of really of them as an English band, even though half of them are, more than half of them are. Yeah.
right.
I think of them as like an LA band.
And Steph, I know your husband Bob is a big
Hmm.
fan of that sort of middle period
Yes.
after Peter Green leaves and before Lindsay and Stevie comes in, when the band is being sort of driven by Bob Welch and
Yeah.
Christine and Danny Kerwin. And I love that period also. I'm a huge Danny Kerwin fan. And I think that Bare Trees is a
Mhm.
remarkable album. And it's like it could have been another Rumors. It's just that it wasn't produced as well and it didn't get the same exposure. But I think it's an amazing album. It's like right up top tier of Fleetwood Mac for me.
Even though Bob loves it, I don't really know it very well, so I can't
Go
comment.
listen to that album. It's so
I'm going
good.
to. I
Yeah.
know you've said that on previous
Hey.
shows though about that album. Yeah.
Yep. Danny has a song on that album called Dust. Just listen to that song.
Okay.
Oh my God. It kills me every time I hear it.
Yeah, I think it's like probably their best album pre
Yeah.
Stevie and Lindsay.
Yeah.
All right.
Worth a listen.
So, there was, what was it, a month or two ago, a couple of months ago, Stephen and I and our respective partners were out shopping somewhere. And there had just been this thing that happened where Lindsay had posted on, or whoever runs their socials, on Lindsay's socials, they posted, and if you go forward, ... And Stevie's post was ... I'll meet you there. So, which is a line from Frozen Love, the closing track from the Buckingham Nicks album. And Stephen and I were like, oh my gosh, what does this mean? What's happening? And some random billboard in California had gone up. And we're like, is this real? Is this AI? What is happening? Do you think they're going on tour? Do you think they're reissuing the album? What do you think? We were all abuzz.
Well, you were rightly so buzzed because it was remastered and
Yeah.
re-released on Rhino. Thank goodness for
Yes.
Rhino Records.
And there had been talk about this for a long time. Lindsay has talked about it numerous times over the years about he would love to see it reissued and whatever. And like up until like 2022, I believe was the last time he talked about it. And Stevie in 2013 talked about she would love to see a 40th anniversary reissue of this. And she knew of at least one track that had never been released that could be included on it as like a little bonus.
Hmm.
So this has been talked about for a long time by both of them. And I mean, why now? What was it that made it happen now?
I
It's the
mean,
50th anniversary
it's
of them
50th.
joining Fleetwood Mac.
Yeah. I think another reason probably was because there was always a current project coming out. I mean, there
Yeah.
seems to from one member or the other or all of them, there's a current thing to promote. Maybe now that it's, there's not, or I don't really know. I'm just saying that
Yeah.
could be a theory or
Yeah.
part of it.
That's possible. And
But
Stevie just had end of last year had that new song, The Lighthouse, that came out, which,
Mhm.
kind of upped her profile a bit. She did a Saturday Night Live appearance, and she, has just now, she is on tour, which got delayed a little bit because she broke her shoulder or something. But she's out on the road now and playing The Lighthouse. So, she's, got a little bit, that song came out and it was, I don't know, it made waves, it seems like.
Mhm.
Well, yeah. When you said waves, it was like literally it made waves. If you saw the video,
Mhm.
Yeah.
part of it was shot by the ocean with women holding signs that were extremely political.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And it was fascinating. It was fascinating to watch. And, I was like, good on you, Stevie, like taking a stand and showing your solidarity with women. She's always been an advocate for other women in the industry.
Yeah.
Yep.
She's always built them up. But this was a real political stand for women in general in the United States.
Yes. And
Um,
very public, obviously. Yep.
yes.
And you don't think of Stevie as a political voice.
Nope.
I can't think of a time when she's ever made that kind of statement with one of her songs.
The only other time, Alan, and again, it's fairly recently, after the George Floyd incident, his murder,
Yeah.
she came out with a song, and the video was a huge political statement to vote. And the song was Show Them the Way.
Oh, yeah, that's
Show them the
right.
way.
Yeah.
But that's fairly recent too. Like
Yeah.
this, before the year 2000 or even before the year 2005
Yeah.
or 2000. I mean, I don't think until like very recently she's allowed herself to show up politically in public.
Mm-hmm.
But when she does, if you look at both of these video, Show Them the Way and The Lighthouse, she shows up profoundly.
Yeah.
Right. I think you're right. She's always been obviously a role model, but she's always spoken out for women. And I think, just being who she is. But yes, politically, completely, I agree with you. I don't think I can think of any other time when she's done something so blatant,
Yeah.
And when she was touring the last tour, or maybe it was the tour before that, she added Buffalo Springfield's For What It's Worth.
Right.
While she was singing that live. And, felt like a protest song.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, speaking of touring, I don't know if it was the last time she toured or 2 times ago. They just randomly, like out of nowhere, no one would ever expect it, threw Crying in the Night in the set.
Oh, really?
list.
Yes.
And people flipped their lids. Like nobody ever expected that to happen.
That's my favorite song on this record, by the way, on the Buckingham Nicks record.
And Stephen, you saw one of those shows.
I did.
Yeah?
Yeah. Oh, it was, oh my gosh. It was a moment because, here we were, hearing her hits from her solo and her Fleetwood Mac career. But it was a moment that felt really special. Like she was giving us a glimpse behind the curtain to the years that she was becoming Stevie Nicks. It was so beautiful. Yeah.
Gosh, I've only seen her once.
Did you?
Yeah, I did. I saw her. I used to, as you mentioned, I worked at Virgin Records and Boz Scaggs was on our label and he opened for Stevie.
He did.
And so my mom and I we went to see her at Radio City Music Hall. It was fantastic.
Oh, cool.
Oh,
wow.
Wow.
Yeah.
I would have loved to have seen that show.
And we remember that Anthony went to Radio City last year for the first time, and that was one of his bucket list venues. I can't imagine seeing a show there. That's just crazy.
Yeah, I remember it like it was yesterday. I mean, I've been to Radio City many times, but just remember that show so well because I look up to her so much. I love her.
Wow.
I saw her on the Wild Heart tour. I saw her on Other Side of the Mirror.
Wow.
I'm sure I saw her on Rock a Little.
Yeah.
I must have. I'm sure. I'm sure I did. But
wow.
So yeah.
No, I wish I could have seen one of those older albums, man. I love those albums.
So talking about Crying in the Night, what are some of your favorite tracks on this album? And what do you think of the remaster? Because I love the way it sounds now.
Oh, I think it sounds so rich and beautiful.
Yeah.
It sounds 100 times better.
Yeah. So what are some of your favorite songs on it?
You go, Steven.
Well, I want to kind of bounce off of what Stephanie was saying about Crying in the Night.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
It's I don't know. I just feel like it's a gutsy Stevie Nicks song. I love what she's saying there. You see this young woman who knows what she wants.
Mm-hmm.
And then you know later in her career, it's all about like, do not mess with me. You know, you want to work with me? Great. Don't mess with me. I'm the boss.
Yeah.
And I think that song is like, I can hear it in her voice. But Frozen Love to me just seals the deal because it's everything. It is everything. It is their harmonies. It is his voice. It is her voice. Yeah. It is his exquisite guitar work that just slays there. And I mean, I think for that.
And it's the orchestration.
Yes.
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 I mean, for a debut record, I feel like this is a really solid album. Everything you don't skip a track. Everything is great, but then you get to that last track, Frozen Love, and it's just this epic, amazing song. And you're like, man, these two have got something special.
Yes.
There is something there that's that they're going to go far with it.
Yeah, there's a couple really standout tracks on that, and I think that is definitely like my second pick for almost might be tied with the Crying in the Night.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah. And speaking of the guitar playing, I love listening to him. Just all I could do to jump out of my stop myself from jumping out of my skin when I hear him play guitar. He's like magical. So that song Stephanie that he wrote for her is so good.
Oh wait, he didn't write it for you?
Well, by the way, I just want you to know when I found out, like, I don't know, I was probably like 20 years old when I found out that her name is Stephanie Lynn, and so is mine. And I was like,
your middle name is Lynn?
We're the same.
Your middle name is Lynn?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing.
I know. I have to say, my old boyfriend used to call me Little Stevie because of that.
Oh,
that's
thank
interesting.
You.
Wow.
Alan, you're outnumbered here. You've got two Stevies on this podcast.
Yeah.
I know.
I'm just going to call you.
Have I ever told you that my middle name is Lindsay?
Are you serious?
No, it isn't.
Oh.
That would be great.
We can form our own Buckingham Nicks here on the show.
Right.
So for me, I love every track, first of all, but I think my favorite Lindsay track is Without a Leg to Stand On. And it's such a short song. It's like verse, chorus, chorus, and you're done. So it never outstays its welcome, but I really feel like there should be more to it than just that, but it's so good. And my favorite Stevie song, and I've had different favorites over the years, but currently my favorite is Races Are Run.
Ah, that's a good one.
God, it's so beautiful.
Yeah.
It is a beautiful song. Tender.
Yeah.
Very tender. And I'm with you on Without a Leg to Stand On. That he nailed it. He nailed who he was on that song.
Yeah. Yeah. It's so interesting that you can listen to this album and you can hear the germ of what they're going to grow into and all the things that they bring to Fleetwood Mac when they finally are invited in and they join and they go in and they record that first record. You hear where all that comes from and you hear all the things that they're going to be contributing. And it's a really, really cool listen.
You definitely do. And something that I was thinking about is you also hear what they don't do, at least don't do as much when they go into that band. And I felt like on this Buckingham Nicks album, there's a lot of weird kind of like minor chord
Mm.
little dalliances, especially vocally, when they're dipping and it almost stood out to me. So to me, it was just a tad annoying. I mean, it's just a style, or it's just the way you write songs.
Hmm.
And I think when they went into Fleetwood Mac that they started doing less of that.
Hmm.
Just something I observed when I was listening to it.
Yeah.
I never
Another,
noticed that. That's interesting. I'll have to listen to it now.
Yeah,
yeah.
With that in mind, I had never noticed that.
it's just
Another big difference that I notice is that Lindsay relies almost exclusively on acoustic guitar.
mhm.
He plays electric for his leads and for some of the supporting parts, but most everything is really acoustic, and that's a very different sound than even what you get on that first Fleetwood Mac album that they're on.
Hmm.
That's a good point too. I
So
didn't think about that.
let me share something that I saw that
Mhm.
was when I really, really came to. I mean, I always thought Lindsay was a star
Oh yeah.
and brought such incredible talent to his work and to the work with Fleetwood Mac.
Mm.
But I swear, like I think, Lindsay's a kind of guitar player you can take for granted. It's like,
That's a
Agreed.
good point.
right?
Yes.
Yes.
But I saw him live with the band.
Hmm.
I don't remember whether it was the dance tour, which is
Mm.
quite ways after their
Yeah.
into their career, or whether it was I think it was he did the song "Big Love" acoustically,
Yeah.
and I was in the audience, and I was just like, and he wouldn't stop. He was like, he just went on and on. He was like, I mean, he was beating up that acoustic guitar in such a way that it was just like, oh my gosh, like that talent has been there the whole time.
Yeah.
And it was then that I realized, like, I took his talent for granted.
Mm.
It was really powerful.
Yeah.
Wow. That must have been something. Oh man, to be in that audience.
Crazy.
The
Yeah.
last time I saw them, I guess it was 2014. It was the year Christine had been gone from the band for quite a while, and this was the tour that she came back in. So I think it was 2014, and holy cow,
Mm.
it was so great to see them again. You
Yeah.
know, holy shit, it was just amazing. And I am, as much as I love Lindsay and Stevie, I'm a Christine girl. So I was so excited that Christine was back in the band. And my sweetie bought tickets for us for my birthday. I
Oh,
Oh, that's
know, it's so
very
sweet.
nice.
that's so
Yeah,
And I'm like,
nice.
oh
that's
my God, you
great.
should not have spent that much money. But it was a
Well,
great show.
it is Christine I'm talking about now. Her voice is speaking of unique voices. There's such special sounds in that band. I mean, no wonder when they all sing together that it's something like you've never heard, because it's
Yeah.
nothing like you've ever heard, right?
Yeah.
Stevie's got the most crazy unique voice, so does Christine.
Yeah.
Lindsay's got a spectacular voice. So
Yeah.
kind of makes sense that they all make something that's almost greater than the individual parts.
Oh, absolutely. And they each have a very distinct personality, a very distinct songwriting voice.
Correct.
And
Absolutely correct.
and I think that
Yes,
they each add so much to each other's sound.
Yeah.
I just don't
absolutely.
it's a combination that you wouldn't get anywhere else.
I always felt when I saw them live that they were like this band of crazy eclectic people who hung out with each other, but then maybe went their separate ways when they were
Yes.
done playing.
Yes.
I always got that sense.
Yeah. It's funny when you think of Christine being so very British in a way, but again, like you were saying, almost that boho kind of vibe, because her songs are a complete boho vibe, but with this very soft, kind of clear bell-like voice.
Hmm.
Yeah, I was listening to, I don't know whether it was an early take or it wasn't the studio take, but it was one of the takes of "Oh Daddy."
Ooh.
I was
Mm.
listening to that today, and it's like there in itself, wrapped up in this beautiful bow, is the gift of her voice and what she does when she makes her songs like these yearning poems. And I was actually, out on a walk getting some exercise. I stopped in my tracks and like, this is so chilling the way she sings this.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm. I was gonna say like Songbird. I mean, just think about her just recording that with the piano,
Hmm.
one take,
Yeah.
boom, it's just kind of extraordinary to think that vocal, that take was just like effortless kind of,
Another one for me is Brown Eyes from Tusk. Holy shit, that's a
Yeah,
good song. And she
that's
just,
a
I mean,
great
the whole thing
album.
is kind of ghostly, and she just sounds so ethereal over it. It's just
Yeah.
amazing.
She was at a weird time of her life during that Tusk
Yeah.
period.
Yeah. This is a weird time for all of them.
Was that
Yeah.
when she was getting divorced, or did she
Yes.
got to, oh, okay.
She had
Was it
just,
before then?
she was
Okay.
getting divorced. Yeah. Right. From, I think it was Brian Wilson. Is that right?
I
Yeah.
don't
Oh,
Yeah.
know.
Or Carl.
or I
Oh,
don't remember.
Carl.
One
One
of
of the
them.
Wilsons.
Yeah.
I don't think it was Brian. I think it was Carl, but I don't
Okay.
remember, honestly. Or
Yeah,
was
because
it both?
Brian was always with
Yeah.
oh no, he wasn't, was he? No, he wasn't always with what's her name. Anyway, sorry. Go ahead.
The
Talk
Marriage
amongst
Life of
yourselves. I'm
Brian
going to
Wilson.
Google.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. We have stopped the show before to Google a thing and then resume. Oh, so let's talk about where Buckingham Nicks might have gone had they not joined Fleetwood Mac, because we have a very clear picture of what that second record of theirs would have sounded like, because the songs that end up on the first Fleetwood Mac album were songs that were intended to be
Yeah.
Buckingham Nicks 2. And even Rumors has I Don't Want to Know, which was a song left over from Buckingham Nicks, that when they decided we cannot fit Silver Springs onto this record, we'll do this one instead. And Lindsay's like, this is a song from before we joined and that Stevie loves, and I know she'll be happy doing this one.
Mm-hmm.
So we have a good idea of what that second record would have sounded like. I wonder how different things would have, like Monday Morning would have sounded like, not recorded by Fleetwood Mac, because you're so familiar with how it sounds, the way it ended up. How different might it have been?
Well, I think that Mick Fleetwood's drumming is just something that makes them stand out so much. And it's such a unique, you just know when it's him playing. And I think, who knows how it would, there could have gone so many different ways, but just from that alone, things would have sounded a lot differently. But of course, at the same time, the like you were saying, the germ of those songs was there. And more than that, I mean, they had written the songs, so they had a good idea with how the melodies and harmonies were going to go.
I mean,
sure.
they had been performing Rhiannon and Blue Letter and a couple of other ones on their tours before joining Fleetwood Mac, so they were already working that material into their repertoire. So it would be interesting, because if you have things like Rhiannon and you don't have Christine, like her voice and her keyboard, it would have sounded so different.
I've heard the Rhiannon performances live from pre Fleetwood Mac days.
Yeah.
And I've heard them, and Stevie brings to it what she would bring to it in her later years. I mean, she brings to that song the whole idea of the song, and you really see the very sort of origin of that song later on, like even how she performs it today.
Yeah.
But back in the days, you didn't have the layering in of the harmonies with Christine and, like you said, Stephanie, like, Mick Fleetwood's drumming, and, it's these layers that were added when those songs became part of Fleetwood Mac that, but I mean, I'm almost certain Rhiannon would have been on their second Buckingham Nicks album for sure.
Right.
And maybe Planets of the Universe.
Yes. Well, that one and Sorcerer also were, they both came from that period, and they were, Sorcerer is one of the ones that they were doing in their shows. So
which was not released until she put it on
Shangri-La.
Trouble in Shangri-La.
Yeah. Crazy.
Yeah.
Both of those ended up on Trouble in Shangri-La.
Right.
And they're great songs.
They're great songs, but like she has always said, she has a vault
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
must be the size of a bank because she's a prolific songwriter.
Right. It's always so interesting to me when someone has that catalog, that backlog of material, and then they come out like out of nowhere. Here's a new song called The Lighthouse. And you're like, holy shit, what a great song this is. You
Yeah.
know, and for someone, and I hate to say it, but this late in their career, a lot of artists don't keep writing,
No.
you know?
Yes.
So good for her, man.
Yeah. One thing I just want to say is when kind of to flip it around of what might have happened to Lindsay and Stevie. If you just think about like Christine's songs on this Fleetwood Mac album,
Yeah.
Over My Head and maybe like what's the other? Say You
Say
Love
You
Me.
Love Me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just think about what they brought to her songs
Right.
too. Like, right, the harmonies. When you think of Say You Love Me, for example, I mean, just
Yeah.
really hear them. So I don't know. I mean, that just wondering what that would have sounded like without them. Where would that album have gone?
Yeah. Just think if Bob Welch hadn't left the band
Right.
and
Right.
Say You Love Me ends up being recorded by that earlier incarnation of the band. How
Yeah.
different would it have been? Because the two of them sang harmony a lot, but it doesn't sound the way that it does when it's the three of them, when it's
Yep.
Lindsay and Stevie and Christine. There's just something that gels in that combination that the band has never had before or since. And I say since because Lindsay had left the band for a while, Stevie left the band for a while, Christine left the band for a while, and you have other members in recording material, and they're all good. They're
Mhm.
all really great, but it's not that combination.
Right. No matter how great Neil Finn is on his, it's like he's
Well,
not. I
what a
love him
weird
so.
flex that was.
Yeah. That was interesting.
Yeah.
That I saw that tour.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was interesting. That's what that was the tour that I found myself with the privilege of meeting Stevie Nicks backstage, and it was a different sound and it was really a different look on stage.
Yeah.
But they all looked like they were having a good time.
Yeah.
These are people who love to perform.
Yeah.
These are people who generally they prefer, I think, to perform than to be in a studio, and they really love it. So they're out there having a good time. And yeah, we know that Lindsay's not here,
Right.
and there are two other members of the band, but if you are just there, you're enjoying the music, you're enjoying how much they enjoy being up there, it's an experience. Anyway,
Tell us about
Yeah.
meeting Stevie, please.
tell you about meeting Stevie. So my uncle, I'll make this as short as I can.
Yeah,
My
it's
uncle
fine.
was a doctor,
Mhm.
and there was a promoter back in the day who he knew or knew him. And when bands would come through New England, this promoter would hire my uncle to be on call backstage in case the band had any medical needs or I don't know. So he got the call that Fleetwood Mac was coming through New England for this tour. And so he called me. My uncle was like a rock and roll guy. My uncle was to Bob Dylan what I am to Stevie Nicks,
Oh, wow.
which is weird because Bob Dylan is one of Stevie Nicks's like great influences,
Mhm.
right? So my uncle, who is like this rock and roll uncle, had to follow Fleetwood Mac around New England, and he brought me backstage. And after the show, he had gone in to see each band member before the show to like take their pulse and listen to their heart and do all that stuff. And then after the show, and he said to Stevie at the time, I'm sorry, this was a long time
No,
ago,
that's good.
but he said to Stevie at the time, my nephew's here, and like he's a huge fan, and he would just love to meet you. And I don't know if you do that kind of thing. And she said, well, how about for now, I get all the band members to sign the program for him. We'll get a program, we'll get all the members to sign, he'll have all our autographs, and then we'll see what happens later.
Oh,
And
gosh.
so he comes back out with this program that every member had just signed. And he's like, is this exciting? I'm like, yeah. I'm like, I feel like I've just met them all. He's like, well, you hang out after the show and we'll see what happens. So the show goes and, whatever, the show ends. And so we go backstage and we wait. And as each band member kind of comes out, say hello or shake their hand. And she's the last one to come out of the dressing room. So she makes her way over to me. There were a couple of other people who were doing like a meet and greet. And she makes her way over to me, and she was with some guy. I really don't know whether it was a boyfriend or whether it was a security guy, but he's sort of like pushing her along like she can't stop.
Mm.
But she stops. And she says to me, "Would you like a rose?" Because, there was such a thing at the end of Fleetwood Mac and Stevie Nicks concerts that people would like throw flowers at her.
Yes.
They'd hand her a bouquet of flowers, and she'd
Yes.
walk out with this like armful of thousands of flowers. And so I looked at her and I said, "Isn't it supposed to be me giving you a flower at this point?" And she said, "No, really, take one." And I said, "Well, thank you for sending the program around, to the band. That was very meaningful to me." And I said, "Just so you know, you and your music have always been very, very special to me. And I don't know how to thank you, but, let this be my thank you. It's such a pleasure to meet you." And, she was like trying to have a conversation, but this guy was really pushing her along like she couldn't stop. And so like I think she was like on the way out the door, and I just looked back at her and I said, "I mean what I say. Very, very special." And she goes, "I know you do." And it was just such a moment. It was such a moment. And she was so gracious. And she must get this all the time, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And that was the thing. She must get this all the time. And she was still so lovely and gracious.
That's so good to hear. I love it.
I
Wow.
loved it too.
Oh, that's so special getting to meet like someone that you just love. It's so cool when they're just reciprocating that love,
Yeah. Yeah.
It was it was a huge moment for me. I think that when someone like Lindsay or Stevie or any of the members of the band of Fleetwood Mac, or any of the Eagles or whoever,
Mhm.
they exist sort of in this other place, right?
Yes.
In this other dimension that feels in a way unreachable. And, their way of reaching you is performing live.
Yeah.
And where they can, like really performing to the audience, even though they can't see half of them, right? Because of the lighting. But, making that connection. And it's very rare to kind of break through into that dimension where you're just sort of like observing them as people.
Yes, that's a good point, right? They're just people, but right, they're in a stratosphere.
Mm-hmm. It's a different place.
So let's just talk really quickly about, and I know we could do a whole show, and that was always my intention, do a whole show about Fleetwood Mac going solo, but both Stevie and Lindsay had very successful solo careers after joining Fleetwood Mac. And, Stevie was kind of the first one out of the gate with a solo album, but she had also, had these guest appearances. She was becoming known as an individual, not as a member of a band, because she'd had these things like the Kenny Loggins song,
Yes.
Whenever I Call You Friend, and the Andrew Gold song, and, just all kinds of things that she was sort of getting recognition. So Belladonna comes out in 80 or 81. I don't remember.
Belladonna came out in 81.
Yeah,
81. Okay.
Sophomore in college, again, dating myself, but
Yeah, it's 81.
Yep, that was my graduation year, my high school graduation year. And I remember that album coming out so well. And the concert on HBO that was filmed at the last show on her tour.
Yes.
I loved that.
Yes.
And it was a long time. I mean, it was only an hour, so I knew that there had to be some other material that they did on that show that it didn't come out for a long time. So I never heard, their performance of Angel or Leather and Lace and things like that until later on. So I finally got a clearer picture of that full concert.
Yes.
I was trying to decide which of the two. I mean, I think my favorites of her albums are the first two, so Belladonna and The Wild Heart. But I think I might have to go with The Wild Heart, and it's because of Beauty and the Beast on that, the last track on that, which I've talked about on this podcast before. I mean, that song is just so incredible, and it's like a magic song. And, well, a lot of her songs are magic, but this is like
That's
such
true.
a whimsical like lyrics, I would say, and
Mhm.
fantasy kind of.
Right.
She paints a picture of like this fantasy, I feel like. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Steven, do you have a favorite Stevie album?
My favorite Stevie album. That's like, you pick your favorite child, right? And then they're not my children. They're just like, they're
Yeah.
my nieces and nephews, I guess. Because Stevie and I were definitely siblings in a former life.
Oh, I
Oh,
see.
Definitely, yes. So no, I mean, I think Belladonna was just so beautifully made
Yeah.
from start to finish. There's not a bad track
Yeah.
on that record.
mm.
And I think it will always be my favorite because you know something. I always knew she would cut a solo album. Like
Mhm.
from the very early days of Fleetwood Mac, I'm like, that voice cannot just
Right.
Right.
happen 3 times on an album or 2 times on an album
Exactly.
and go away. Like she's
Right.
got that is such a gift that there needs to be a bigger venue for that. So I always knew that she was going to have a solo career. So big Belladonna fan. But I got to tell you that, and I love Wild Heart, lots of
Mhm.
tracks on that I love. But as albums go, it's for me, it is definitely Belladonna, Trouble in Shangri-La,
Yeah.
and In Your Dreams.
I love In Your Dreams.
Yep.
That was a really solid record.
Yes.
Annabelle Lee is my favorite track on that record.
Yeah. There are some great tracks on that
Yeah.
record.
Yeah.
Fantastic writing. Dave Stewart is awesome.
Oh, man.
Oh, we
You
love
know?
him. Yeah.
But another one, the 24 Karat Gold album has
Mm.
some great stuff
Mhm.
on it.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of that was older things that she said, like, all these things have like leaked here and there.
Mm-hmm.
You can find them on YouTube or whatever. And I thought I need to record good versions of these things so that people hear these songs the way they were meant to be heard. And it is just a great record.
Was
It
that
feels like a
album?
cohesive album instead of like bits and pieces from
Right.
different eras.
Right.
Yeah, was that the last? Oh, yes, that was the last solo album. I couldn't remember if that was before
Right.
In Your Dreams or not. No, okay, it was the last one.
And we've got a new one in the works.
That's right.
She has
We
a new
do.
one that's coming out that she's saying is like rumors level, laying your shit out on the table and letting people know,
Wow.
I'm sure it's still going to be in that Stevie lens where it's like very flowery language and imagery, and you don't know exactly what she's saying, but
Yeah.
Well,
really intriguing.
I think, she's got nothing to lose at this point, right?
Right.
And, I think she's also wanting to show women that, say it like it was.
Mm-hmm.
Use your voice literally
Yeah.
to show your strength. I think there's something to that. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I hear it's called the Ghost album or something.
Oh,
I did not
Or is that
heard.
just a name they're giving it to because they
don't know.
don't have a name? I don't
I've
know
kind
whether
of heard
that's
that too. Yeah.
Yeah,
Hmm.
I don't know. It'll be interesting to see what she calls it and what she does with it.
Yeah.
Right. Well, we're just about out of time. We got just a few minutes left. I do want to just mention, since my intention had always been to do a show about Fleetwood Mac as solo artists, we haven't really gotten to any of them yet, except for Lindsay and Stevie. But Christine had one album out before she joined Fleetwood Mac. She put out a second album in 1984, which had a really good success with it. Got a Hold on Me was a really good
Yeah.
pop song. She had some rock radio, picked it up a lot with things like Love Will Show Us How, One in a Million were all great tunes, and then she put out one more, which was in like another decade later or something, 2013, 2014, something like that. And so she just wasn't as interested, I don't think, as pursuing a solo career as the other members. But, our conversation kind of begins with Bob Welch leaving Fleetwood Mac and how Lindsay and Stevie came into Fleetwood Mac. And right after he left, Bob Welch had some big successes on Top 40 radio with Ebony Eyes and Sentimental Lady and Precious Love and some other songs that
I love Ebony Eyes.
Yeah, I do too. And most of the current Fleetwood Mac members are on those songs. you can hear Christine singing in Sentimental Lady. And it's just, Sentimental Lady was a Fleetwood Mac track that he re-recorded for his solo album. And it sounds so completely different. And maybe that does give us a kind of an insight into what Buckingham Nicks would sound like. Like those Fleetwood Mac songs had Buckingham Nicks recorded that second.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Yeah, but recorded that second album. You kind of get that sense of how Bob changed his song with that current lineup. Anyway, that's a weird.
That's
tangent.
good observation. That's interesting to know.
And you, Alan, introduced me to the phenomenon of Bob Welsh, which I did not know. I mean, like, I just thought that was some like random dude
Some
from
random dude.
the FM radio.
Yeah.
I didn't know he was in Fleetwood Mac or whatever. So, and I knew those songs, which I couldn't believe too.
He was in Mac for 5 years.
Yeah.
He was kind of the core of that band for a while. And
I'm sorry, Alan, did he write Hypnotized?
Yes.
Okay. That song gives me chills whenever I hear it.
Oh, yes.
It feels like a song that Stevie Nicks should have been on.
Huh.
I don't know why, but it does. It feels like, wow, like it's almost as if it was destined somehow for, their sounds to intersect, even if not on the same album. But that song still gives me chills.
And on the 50th anniversary tour, they picked up some of they tried to do, and they started the tour out doing at least something from every major songwriter. So they had a Peter Green song. So Stevie sang Black Magic Woman on that tour, but she changed it to I'm a Black Magic Woman.
Of course she did.
Of course she did, But didn't they play, and it was, some of these things only lasted for a few shows. Like they did Station Man, the Danny Kerwin song, which they used to do when Lindsay and Stevie first joined, but didn't they did that for a few shows with one of the new boys singing it, but I'm sure they did Hypnotized.
Yeah, I think you're
I
right.
was thinking that Stevie was the one that was singing that, but I don't know. I can't remember now.
We'll have to search that one also.
We will.
We'll have to search that one also. There's a lot of stuff out there that, like few people have ever heard.
Yeah.
There's so much. I mean, I was just trying to search like Stevie Nicks collaborations, and there's endless lists. Endless. So I was like, you know what? Because I wanted to throw some trivia questions out, but I'm like, I can't. There's nothing to even,
Go ahead, try me.
I know. And plus, I was thinking you're going to know everything anyway. So.
Well, we should do that. Stephen and I have talked about doing a Stevie trivia.
Really?
So you could be the moderator. You come up with some questions, and we'll get on here, and you'll fire them at us, and we'll do see what we can get.
I will be so there. I will be there.
Okay, because I was literally like going to do, which artist has Stevie Nicks not worked with? But like she's worked with every single person in the world. No, but
I mean, Prince came in the studio and added parts to Stand Back.
Right.
Yeah,
she has recorded with everybody.
I know.
Right.
It was just,
but
I couldn't
talking
even
about those collaborations. One of the songs that I gave you to listen to was that Rick Vito track.
Yeah,
Desiree.
Yeah,
that Stevie just shows up on his solo album. Just great stuff.
Yeah. I will say this just to give Christine her due.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, actually, to give one of the Wilsons his due.
Mm-hmm.
Dennis was Christine's husband at one
time. That's
Okay.
right. Dang it. I don't know why I couldn't think of that. I'm sure that people are going to listen to this show and they're going to be like, oh my God, it's Dennis, you idiots. Come on.
Well, I mean,
we
come
got
on.
there in the end.
Yes.
This was a long time ago. There were a few
was.
of these Beach Boys out there and,
Right.
and we were all high. So, I mean, come on.
There was as many Beach Boys as there was Osmonds
There you
or
go.
Jacksons.
That's the other thing. We'll have to talk about it on another show, like the influence of that music on the young culture, the college culture, and what it was like to kind of listen to that music when you weren't quite lucid.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say. Yeah.
That's a good part too,
Yeah, it's a part two.
Yeah. And speaking of part two, but Stephen and I have talked about how disappointed we were that this album, Buckingham Nicks, came out without any additional material on it.
Mm-hmm.
And I just have to wonder, are they saving that stuff for a later release for a deluxe edition? Are they going to do are they going to do a reconstruction of Buckingham Nicks 2 with demos that they did of Rhiannon, of Monday Morning, of Blue Letter,
That
all
would be
those kind
so
of things?
great.
That would be
I
fantastic.
want to hear that stuff. I want to hear it remastered. I want to hear it. Oh,
Yeah,
That'd be
demos,
great.
demos. That would be great.
yeah. Gimme it.
We have a weekly podcast called Earth Station Trek where we talk about Star Trek.
Are we about to get into Star Trek fatigue again?
No.
And the fans are maybe getting a little tired of
No.
it.
We have been doing this podcast for 4 years now.
And every single Thursday at 8 p.m., we do a live recording where we talk Star Trek.
So getting back to the future of Star Trek.
We're arguing about canon from 60 years ago. What are you talking about? That's what we do.
That's the future of Star Trek.
It's Earth Station Trek. We talk about Trek all the time. We'll be talking about it tonight.
Star Trek rules!
All right. So, Stephen, thank you so much for joining us for this. We really
Oh.
appreciate it.
Yeah.
Please, it was my pleasure. I'm talking about my favorite subjects. So thank you. Actually, thank you both for having me.
Yeah, fantastic.
So, if people were wanting to find more from you or find your books, talk about your novels and where they can get them.
My last novel came out in 2019 because I've been lazy. No, that's not true. It's not true. I've been working on other projects. I'm working on a play and I'm working on other projects. But my last books there were a series of mysteries that took place in the desert Southwest. And they're available on Amazon and different bookstores. A lot. You'll find them. Since they're not new releases, you find them at niche bookstores or independent bookstores. Like the big bookstores like Barnes and Noble and Books A Million, they're only going to shelf stuff that's a new release or a classic or something. But the last time my book came out was in 2019, and while it was in Barnes and Noble and Books A Million, you're gonna if it's still out there, in the world, you're gonna find it at those niche bookstores or Amazon. Yeah.
And what's it called?
Well, the first one is called Desert Remains, and the second one is called Dig Your Grave, and the third one is called Valley of Shadows.
Nice.
And in the second one, there is a character that I draw that is, in many ways, influenced by Stevie Nicks as a musician. Yes.
Okay, cool.
There you
Dig
go.
your grave.
Yes.
Listen to you.
Yes.
We should have saved 5 minutes for let Steph do a rendition of a Stevie song, since they're both Stevie Lynn's.
Oh, yes.
Next time.
You want to belt something out, Stevie? Or
No.
Steffi? Holy cow.
No, Lindsay, it's okay.
Okay, thank you. All right. Well, Stephanie, tell people where they can hear more about you.
Oh, this goes bad every time, doesn't it,
Yes,
Alan?
but it's my new obsession.
All right, I'm going to get it right.
I
You
know
can
you
find me at Stephanie Seymour Music on Facebook. You can find me at _r_birds on Instagram. You can find me on Bandcamp under my name, and you can find me on Spotify and all the streaming platforms. See, I did it.
You did it.
Awesome.
Look at that. And
Where can
and
maybe find you,
I
Alan?
never mess mine up.
No.
Never.
Never.
But you can find me at cosmiccreative.com. KOZMIC creative.com. All right. We are going to be back. And I don't know what our next show is going to be. There is a topic that has been tentatively scheduled for our next show that I'm having to sort of schedule with the guests that are going to be on. And I don't know when that's going to be. So it might be our next show. I don't really know. But basically, I've got two friends who are enormous Swifties, and they want to talk about the new album and all the music video that's come out and the behind the scenes video that's come out and the talk show circuit that she's been on. So that's planned to be our next show. So we'll see if that happens. All right.
on.
Everybody take care. Have a great week and keep rocking on.
Oh, thank you.
This has been a broadcast of the ESO Network. Be part of the crew and help support our shows by donating to our ESO Patreon or by shopping at the TeePublic store, which can all be found at www.esonetwork.com. The ESO Network, your station for all things geek.